the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. Hey, I'm Dina. I am a horrible singer. I learned this in 3rd grade. I was walking up onto stage with my classmates for a concert that, all grade participation. And my choir director pulled me aside. She suggested I lip sync. I don't remember her exact words. I'm sure they were gentler than that. And she accompanied them with a reassuring squeeze of my arm. Still, mortifying embarrassment. Sadly, my embarrassments didn't end at 3rd grade. Since then, they've been many, and they have been varied. But they have something in common. I've got 2 ways of dealing with them. 1, avoid. 2, engage. In 3rd grade, I only knew the first option, so I avoided singing. And as I grew up, I kept making that same choice over and over, except eventually it wasn't a choice. I had stopped thinking about it. It became a behavior. And every time I didn't sing, the idea of it became that much more terrifying. So, why were you guys lucky enough to hear me sing tonight? I sang for you because I devoted my teenage years to race walking, possibly the silliest looking sport in the world. I sang for you because I wasn't asked out on a single date in high school or college. I wasn't asked out on a proper first date until I was 37 years old. I sang for you because I wasn't one of the popular kids in high school. Mostly, though, I sang for you because I have multiple sclerosis and cancer. My race walking career started when I was 11 years old. Do you guys know what race walking looks like? Since I've sang for you, I kind of feel like the demonstration is in order. And I want to get out of my shoes. This. Thank you. That is what I spent 8 years living and breathing. While my girlfriends were swooning over Patrick Swayze, I was swishing my way around tracks across the country. At this weekend track meets, I heard other kids that did real events, like the 100-meter dash and the long jump, snickering. And of course it bothered me. I was 11. But it didn't bother me as much as I enjoyed race walking, so I kept at it. At the time, I didn't realize there was anything big going on here. I just thought I was having fun and winning some medals. But looking back on it now, there was something huge that was happening. I was getting comfortable with engaging embarrassment. And it turns out that, like so many things in life, engaging embarrassment, the more you do it, the easier it gets. When I was 32 years old, I competed in a race to set the world record for the most vertical feet skied uphill by a woman in 24 hours. I gave up race walking, but I stayed with pretty esoteric sports. During these 24 hours, I didn't stop for more than 2 minutes. When I was at the top on my final lap, and I knew the record was in the bag, I decided to give myself a reward, a trip to the porta potty. That probably sounds like a pretty lame reward to you guys, but understand that setting world records and bathroom breaks don't go hand in hand. For 24 hours, I had been peeing standing up using a contraption that lets women pee like dudes, standing up and through their pants flies, or, in my case, through the fly in their one-piece spandex ski suit. Convenient, but uncomfortable. I stepped out of my skis, and I stepped into the porta potty. And this was a capital M moment. It's possible that I was hallucinating. I had been skiing for 24 hours at this point, after all. But the heavens, and by heavens I mean roof of the porta potty, opened up. Sunlight came down and illuminated the toilet seat. I told you this was a capital M moment. I began to lower myself towards the toilet seat, but my legs collapsed beneath me. My quads were so tired. I tumbled to the floor. On my way down, I kicked open the door, and right there, cheering race volunteers, lying there, half naked, on a porta potty floor with a crowd, about as vulnerable as I had ever been. But embarrassment was not the emotion that came. Laughter came. If walking in and seeing the toilet seat was a capital M moment, honestly laughing at my absurdity, that was an all caps moment. And it turns out that in my life, the timing of this all caps moment could not have been better. I was diagnosed with MS when I was 30 years old. I learned that I had breast cancer shortly after my 39th birthday. With these, the cost of avoiding embarrassment, it's pretty high. I mean, if I didn't do anything where the symptoms of these diseases could potentially cause me embarrassment, if I didn't do half of the things where I could potentially be embarrassed by the symptoms of these diseases, there wouldn't be much left in my life. It wouldn't be my life anymore. Even though I had these illnesses, I didn't look sick. I would like to think that if I looked as sick as I actually was, strangers around me would have been sympathetic rather than judgmental, and judgmental in ways that made me feel embarrassed. MS symptoms come and go. Once, I had vertigo for a whole month. During this time, I had to fly home from somewhere, and I wobbled my way onto the plane, wobbled my way down to the aisle, probably bumped into a few other passengers. A flight attendant came up to me and announced that she couldn't let me on board if I was drunk. Years later, I knew my regular sprints to the bathroom were because of the chronic diarrhea I had from chemotherapy, but most of the people that I was hastily departing from didn't. They just thought that I was rude. I knew I wore a face mask and wiped down everything around me with antibacterial towelettes and asked to be reseated away from a toddler on a plane because chemo decimated my immune system. But his mom didn't. She announced to everyone around that I was a germophobic bitch. As difficult as these embarrassments around travel were, it was embarrassments around skiing that were actually harder for me. Skiing gets to the core of who I am. I moved to Jackson Hole to learn how to ski, and skiing is part of the reason I'm still here 19 years later. Even before I got into uphill ski racing, I like the kind of skiing where you have to go up before you can come down. It's physically demanding, even if you don't have cancer. By the time I was diagnosed, it had been years since I'd done an uphill skiing race. But I was still really competitive, entirely with myself at that point, though. Doing oddball sports never embarrassed me, but doing my oddball sport of uphill skiing, or no longer being able to do it at the level that I had, that embarrassed me. Getting cancer was not a choice. Chemo wreaking havoc on my physical self, that wasn't a choice. But contemplating the embarrassment I'd feel skiing poorly, that was a choice. And I wasn't in third grade anymore. I'd had years of practice choosing option 2. I mean, that all caps moment on the floor of the porta potty, that was a final exam, and I passed it with flying colors. Except it wasn't a final exam. Getting over the embarrassment of having to ski uphill with a tampon stuffed up one of my nostrils, I had epic nosebleeds during chemo. Getting over that embarrassment was easy. But the embarrassment of not being the athlete that I once was, that was harder. I think because, that's the core of me. That's how I define myself. It's not something that I can laugh at. I can't engage it with laughter. So I've been looking for other ways to engage embarrassment. Right now, I'm trying to learn how to ask for and accept help when I'm vulnerable. laughing is so much easier. So it turns out what I thought was a final exam wasn't. It was just a test at the end of a chapter. Engaging embarrassment, it's an ongoing process for me. When I first discovered this, I was really disappointed, of course. I mean, I thought I had it nailed. But now that I've had time to think about it, it's actually pretty exciting because it means whatever embarrassments are in my future, there's the hope that I can learn how to engage them so that I can be happy and that I can continue being myself. MS and cancer definitely sped up my process, but you don't need a serious illness to integrate this process into your lives. Take a risk. Do something you know you suck at. Try something new. And then engage with it whatever way feels most honest with you. How you engage with it doesn't matter. What matters is that you choose to engage rather than avoid, because that's what empowers you to be authentic. Thank you guys so much.